Hey everyone, Paulus here. So today we're going to talk about, is the Great Resignation good or bad for business owners? If you don't know what that is, I'll fill you in, but it's a big stir-up happening. So I'm sure you've heard of it, the Great Resignation. Maybe you have some thoughts on it, but have you wondered what's behind it or wondered what impact on business is likely to be from it? So in this video, I want to share some ideas about this trend and how we can utilize it to grow our companies and make them stronger than ever before. Let's begin. Okay, so funny story is I didn't even know the Great Resignation was happening. I have a pretty large team, and one of the employees on my team said, "Hey, Mia, do you know about the Great Resignation?" And I said, "No." So I looked it up, and lo and behold, all these people are mass exiting companies. I thought that I must be doing something right because my employees aren't leaving me in mass numbers. But regardless, it's an interesting phenomenon that I kind of started to dig into. It was like, what is causing employees to leave? And before this, I actually wrote a book called Purposeful Focus in Business. And I wasn't planning to write this book. I kind of was planning to write a different book about business and kind of got thrown into researching about mission statements and different things. And I'm kind of from the accounting world. And so where business plans were a thing, which I don't really like, or I really hate business plans, let's just say that. And so I was trying to find the pattern. It's like I would read what experts said, and I realized that they're all saying different things. There was no cohesive agreement on the foundational elements that are required for a company. And I don't say these things because I hated business plans because, this is why, is because it was a thing you had to do. And then you could say, I did this, now I should be successful. It wasn't any energy or emotion behind it. Watching my videos, you can tell that I'm a little passionate about what I do. And so I'm always looking at the energy or the intent of why we're doing what we're doing. Like I'm questioning it, right? And so it's the same thing. I'm like, well, why do we need a mission statement? Like people throw it on a wall and nobody lives by it. Or, people create these values, but they're not actionable. They don't put any verbs behind it to be like, I'm going to do the right thing, or I'm going to embrace the uncomfortable. Like put action and energy behind it. And then sometimes people would list like 12 values. I'm like, well, no employee is going to ever remember those 12. And they'll be like, well, which one do I want to follow today? We need to only have 3 to 5 values, make them actionable, make them to where people can remember them and recite them. And that's what happened in our culture. Employees will be like, I'm embracing the uncomfortable today. And it's super funny to hear them like say the value in a jest type comment, but they're being real about it. Like they know it's a part of our culture and they have to do it. And so it's an interesting thing because I'm like, okay, why are companies leaving in mass numbers? Why are they not with mine? Like I'm going to flex just for a minute, but like what am I doing right? And I think employees are hungry for something more. I've gotten to a point where I'm so passionate about innovation over systems even. Like systems are to enhance innovation, never to squash innovation. And so because I'm so passionate about that, I've always challenged, how do I continue to empower employees to make decisions, become better people? And then I thought about when employees first start working with me. There's an interesting thing that happens. It took us a long time to figure out the pattern. And then we started to realize that I would say 95% of the employees that come into our company are used to being in a micromanaged environment. And some of these employees have stayed in toxic environments for years. And we had so many employees just praise us and say, this is the best culture I've ever had. I love you, I'm here for the long haul. Like we have amazing people. We've had employees quit thinking it was green on the other side and then beg to come back. And if they weren't toxic, we actually took them back. There was a time when some of my A players had to like fire themselves off the spreadsheet because we had a really large client that scaled down. And they're like, we got to write ourselves off the books. So they went and took a year hiatus working for somebody else. And then as soon as we were ready, they all came back. Literally, I have all my A players back on my team now. And so when you create this culture, but I'm like, what is it? Like there's 2 extremes. There's my company and what we're doing, and then there's the majority of the other companies out there. And then I realized the majority of companies are not empowering employees. So I figured that out and I wrote the book. And so I started to find those patterns. And then about 6 months ago, I read another book called The Lean Startup. It's actually in the epilogue of the book. It's one of my favorite parts. And it was in the epilogue, and he talked about how management has only been around for 100 years. And we got really good at systems and process and kind of getting employees to check the box, right? We have managers that hold people accountable with the check the box, and that's what happened. And so we got really good at producing, and we can produce anything we want now. So now the question is not, can we produce it? It's what should we produce, right? But then there's now what's also happening right now is the great settling. COVID shifted people's mindset. What people are diagnosing the reason as is that people want to do their own thing anymore. That, I've had people ask me, well, are you scared to hire entrepreneurs because they're just going to go do their own thing? And yeah, I've had some that have left and I've inspired them to start their business, and I'm happy for that. If I inspired them to be true to their purpose, that's okay, because my purpose for what I do is actually to get people to be the best version of themselves by being true to who they are. So I can't get mad if an employee goes to be the best version of themselves. But an interesting thing also happens. I've had employees quit their businesses, close down their businesses to work for me. I'm not against people having side businesses while they work for me, but I've had people be like, I'm all in, Mia, like we're going all in. The rule that people want to do their own thing, it doesn't really work. Like you think the world has created that. We've created what I call this siloed culture of freelancers and influencers and solopreneurs and virtual assistants, and there's so many single people professions now. And it's interesting because I just had somebody that just started working for me yesterday who I came from a friend that works for me, and she said, hey, Mia, I have this referral that somebody wants to meet with you on. And this lady had 2 companies that she bought at a low price and was able to grow them to $1 million in revenue and then sold them. She had 2 that she did that with. So I was originally going to talk to her entrepreneur to entrepreneur, and assuming that we wanted to look for connections or partnerships as an entrepreneur. And then she made a comment. She said, Mia, I miss a team. I miss working with a team. And then that switched my brain. I get people to drink the Kool-Aid of my company. I think I'm passionate about what we do and the vision. And I said, so I see your strengths and we have a really big gap in this area. Are you interested in working for us? And even if I only got her for 3 months or 6 months or a year, like there's some type of employees that you can tell you'll get value from them day one. And so some people get scared. Well, they're only gonna be with me for 6 months. Like, I don't really care if they're with me a month if I get a month's worth of value. Now there's some employees that it takes them 3 to 6 months to start producing value, but there's some A players that will produce value for you day one. And I can spot those really good now. And so literally she started working for us, and she was gonna onboard yesterday and then start meeting with people today. Like, no way. She was like, Mia, I'm ready to start meeting with people. I wanna start digging in. And she was like the both feet in kind of person. And it's just interesting to me that people want to be a part of something bigger. They wanna be a part of a team. So there's this tension between employer and employee, obviously, because the Great Resignation happened. And I advocate that it's both of their faults, or I can even advocate that it's nobody's fault. Because the thing is that there needed to be a correction. Just like recessions happen for a reason, usually it means that there's a correction that needs to happen, right? There's a lot of people here in Boise, Idaho that can't buy homes because things have outpriced them, and it's probably healthy that there's a market correction because wages have not increased with the cost of living, right? I don't look at necessarily recessions as always bad, but it's like, how can we look for improvements with that? And so the same thing with the Great Resignation. How can we look for opportunities during this time? First, I want you to understand this tension between employees and employers. You'll hear the employer saying that they don't care about companies anymore, they just want to do their own thing. Or you see employees that say companies are greedy, they don't care about me. And they're probably both right in a way, right? But it's because we both have thrown up our hands in the air and said there's no companies that are doing it right. Companies probably did get a little greedy and didn't value their employees enough. Employees are saying, hey, I want more. And most companies that I talk to, they try to blame just the employee. But honestly, I'm gonna put a little more pressure on us as employers to elevate and be a little bit more, because I don't have that problem. And I'm working with my husband on his company, because in the asphalt company, it's hard to find people, especially in Boise, Idaho, where we are at. And I told him, I said, but think about it. You have a couple good guys on your team that are really great to work with. I said, most of the construction clients or companies that are your competitors are pretty toxic. They really don't care. I said, you create that culture, you will have referrals coming, like people leaving their jobs, flocking to come work with you. You pay them well, you treat them well, and they feel like they're a part of something bigger, they will come to you and you will not have that problem. So now I want to go into something you probably haven't thought about related to the Great Resignation. Before I do, if you want to keep your pulse on trends that are happening in business, what to be aware of, how to avoid pitfalls that happen in business, go ahead and like and subscribe this video and you'll see more of me and more of topics like this. Okay, so Great Resignation equals employees quit, right? So what can we do to, I hate the word capitalize, but what can we do to use this to our advantage? Employees quit, so similar, I did a video on the Great Recession. It's a similar thing that's happened. You can get really good talent because there's so many people quitting. They're hungry, and then they went and did their own thing, or they maybe started their business and then they're like, this isn't for me, or they went and did freelancing and figured out, man, there's a lot of downfalls. I'm working by myself in there. And so people have had long enough to test the waters of being alone now. It's been, I don't know, 6 months to 12 months of them doing their own thing. that they are ready for something else. Not everybody, some people will be like, that's my thing, but there's no way the amount of people that flocked want to be all siloed. Most people want to be a part of something bigger, want to be a part of a team, want to be a part of a community. When you create the right culture, people will come to you and you can retain and attract really good talent. Okay, so if you want help creating this employee experience, creating a better culture, you're in luck because I live and breathe this, and I happen to create a company that supports the employee experience and actually can support you in your employee experience journey. We actually work with companies on the front end to help solidify their purpose, values, vision. We even create like culture books or manifesto statements, really kind of solidifying their foundation. We can help you map out your employee journey so that you're knowing what success looks like for the employee, how to meet their basic needs, how to delight them, how to keep them happy, how to get feedback from them of what you're doing wrong. I always tell my employees, I was like, I don't have it all together. I make mistakes. I was like, bubble things up to us, like create a culture of them bubbling up stuff and then being willing to implement changes, right? Understand that you don't have all the best ideas. And when you do that, like magic happens, I promise you. So if you want support in this, I'm actually have a company that does team sourcing, and in one of the elements of team sourcing is the employee experience, where we can help you with that. And so you can actually go to discoverteamsourcing.com and we can help you on your journey, creating an amazing culture where people want to work for you and that will thrive in the environment that you have. So again, go to discoverteamsourcing.com, and I'll see you in the next video.